Welcome back. We are still on the topic quadratic functions. In the previous video, we solved a question on factorizing a quadratic trinomial. In this video, we are going to solve another question. The question for this video is factorize 35 minus 2n minus n squared. So this is our quadratic trinomial, 35 minus 2n minus n squared. We have learned that to factorize a quadratic trinomial, the first thing you have to do is to compare it to the general form of a quadratic trinomial, which is as squared plus bs plus c. This will help us get the values of a, b, and c. So let's compare the quadratic trinomial that we have with the general form of a quadratic trinomial. We can see that the quadratic trinomial that we have is not arranged in the same way as the general form of a quadratic trinomial. So we have to do some rearrangements. The n squared term should come first, the n term should be second, and the constant, which is 35, should be the last term. So when we rearrange it, you have minus n squared. It's minus here, so it will still be minus n squared minus 2n is minus, so it will still be minus, so minus 2n. 35 here is positive, so plus 35. So now we have minus n squared minus 2n plus 35. It's now arranged in the same way as the general form of a quadratic trinomial, so we can compare. So we are comparing as squared plus bs plus c with minus n squared minus 2n plus 35. The variable here is x, the variable here is n. Let's change the variable from x to n so that you see the picture clearly. So let's change it from x to n. We change it from x to n. So now we have n squared plus bn plus c. The coefficient of n squared here is a. The coefficient of n squared here is minus 1. So n squared here has a coefficient of minus 1. That means that a is equal to minus 1. So a is equal to minus 1. We have bn here. Here we have minus 2n. So it means that b is equal to minus 2. We have plus c here. Here we have plus 35. So c is equal to 35. So now we have the values of a, b, and c. A is minus 1, b is minus 2, and c is 35. The second step says that we should multiply a by c. A is minus 1, c is 35. A times c will give us minus 35 because minus 1 times 35 will give us minus 35. So a times c is giving us minus 35. We are going to look for two numbers that when you multiply, you will get minus 35. When you add, you will get minus 2. You will get those two numbers from the factors of 35. So let's list the factors of 35. They are 1, 5, 7, and 35. These are the factors of 35. So from this set, we are going to have the two numbers that when we multiply, we will get minus 35, and when we add, we will get minus 2. Look through it very carefully and see if you can find those two numbers. Two numbers that when you multiply, you will get minus 35. When you add, you get minus 2. Did you get them? They are 5 and 7. So the two numbers we are looking for here are 5 and 7. But you can clearly see that you have to do some adjustments about 5 and 7 before they can fit the two conditions that we have here. Because 5 times 7 will give us 35, not minus 35. And 5 plus 7 will give us 12, not minus 2. So you will need to do some few adjustments here. Let's look at this. Let's negate 7. If we make 7 negative, we will have 5 and negative 7. 5 plus minus 7 will give us minus 2. 5 times minus 7 will give us minus 35. So it means that if we negate 7, it will satisfy both conditions. So the two numbers are 5 and negative 7. After we have these two numbers, we are going to replace b. b is minus 2. So we are going to replace minus 2 with 5 and minus 7. So minus 2n, we will replace it with 5n and minus 7n. So we are going to replace minus 2n with 5n and minus 7n. Let's do that. We will have minus n squared. Here I brought minus 7 first. It's the same thing. So minus n squared minus 7n plus 5n plus 35. Minus n squared minus 7n plus 5n plus 35. Someone can also choose to bring 5n first. In that case, you have minus n squared plus 5n minus 7n plus 35. It's the same thing. You are going to arrive at the same answer. So we have here minus n squared minus 7n plus 5n plus 35. We have now expanded our expression. So we can put them into brackets and simplify. But look at something here. We will put a bracket around the first two terms here. Then you put a bracket around the last two terms. When you put a bracket around the first two terms, the sign outside the bracket is negative. We have learned that when the sign outside the bracket is negative, we are going to change the sign inside the bracket here to the opposite sign. It's negative here, so we will change it to positive. So because the sign outside the bracket here is negative, we will change the sign inside the bracket here, which is negative, to positive. Okay, so we will have minus into bracket n squared plus 7n, we close the bracket, plus 5n plus 35. Because the sign here is positive, we don't worry about the sign inside the bracket. So always remember that when the sign outside the bracket is negative, you change the sign inside the bracket to the opposite sign. So if it's positive, it will be negative. If it's negative, it will be positive. Here it was negative, so we will change it to a positive sign. Okay, so we can now go ahead with our factorization. We have n squared plus 7n. The common factor is n. So let's bring n outside the bracket. You have minus n into bracket n plus 7 plus 5n plus 35. The common factor is 5. So let's bring 5 outside the bracket. You have 5 into bracket. Here you have n plus, here was 35 and you have brought 5 outside the bracket. So you'll be left with 7 because 5 times 7 gives us 35. So you have 5 into bracket n plus 7. We have n plus 7 in one bracket, n plus 7 in another bracket. So you pick one of them, n plus 7. Then when you come here, we have minus n outside the bracket here. Here we have plus 5 outside the bracket. So you will have minus n plus 5 in one bracket. So minus n plus 5. Plus 5. But we know that minus n plus 5 can also be written as 5 minus n. So we have n plus 7 in one bracket, then 5 minus n in another bracket. This means that if we factorize 35 minus 2n minus n squared, we will have n plus 7 in one bracket, 5 minus n in another bracket. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to this channel for more videos. In the next video, we are going to learn how to solve a quadratic equation. Bye bye.